Hey fam, what's good? What's good? I hope that you're well and keeping safe. I hope that you had a nice week. I hope that you have a nice productive weekend as well. As you guys know from last week's topic, we had a little conversation about mentors. What type of mentors you need over the course of your journey, what you don't need over the course of your journey. Hey, I've enjoyed it. You could most probably hear in the tone of my voice. I felt it. Remember, like these things, I don't prep myself for these things. I'm trying to be as authentic with you as possible. Honestly, I do. Now there might be like that one or two that's most probably gonna be like, hey, then how do you know what's going on in the charts? Well, it's basically because I have a thing called a journal. So I have like a brief picture of what happened over the course of the week. And I basically just come up here and then, I revise it with you guys, prepping myself for the up and coming week, and yeah, show you what I have in plan whatsoever. So without wasting no time, let's get into it. So Nasdaq, we're gonna do a top-down analysis on Nasdaq. Starting off from the monthly time frame. Hey, I can say that the bulls have been going to the gym and they have been flexing their muscles. The bulls have been flexing their muscles. They've been pushing price towards the upside. So for those who don't know what is the bulls or the bears, the bulls is basically the ones pushing price towards the upside. The green candles. The bears is basically the ones pushing price towards the downside. The red candles. Okay. So, starting off from our monthly time frame, as you can see, we had a nice bull run towards the upside for the month of October. We closed above this actual bear candle over here. As you can see, we have no wick thrown, so that is a strong indication that our bulls is in control. Okay, knowing that Nasdaq is the top 100 companies in the US, technology is always getting better and better. So hey, that's cool with me. And ironically enough, knowing that Nasdaq is a bull market, I love taking sells. What's your thoughts on that? Do you like taking sells? Do you like taking buys? Or are you comfortable with both? Hey, let me know in the comment section. Okay, so scaling down to our actual weekly time frame, as you know by now, we do have a nice channel running up over here, where we have our first stats, where we can just basically extend it like this. Let's extend it more to the future and basically just copy and clone this and just place it on our highs like this. Let's just place it nicely like that. Boom. Okay, so from our lows, we do have our first, our second, our third, and our fourth touch over there. Okay, looking at our highs, we do have our first touch, we have our second touch. We wanted an actual third touch. As you can see, we haven't actually tapped just of yet into this actual trend line over there. So can we see Nasdaq tap in there for the actual third time and have a potential move back towards the downside? Now, if we're gonna have a move towards the downside, where could our targets be on our weekly time frame? Knowing that if we're gonna have a tap into this actual trend line, we can potentially expect another move towards the downside back into this actual dynamic area of support. So this would basically be the strength line above price, would basically be our dynamic area of resistance, and this actual trend line over here would basically be our dynamic area of support. I have an actual content covering support and resistance, so you can just go back there and watch that video. Is basically the principle is the same. Resistance we find above price, support we find below price. Okay, so if we're gonna have the move towards the downside, on our weekly time frame, the first barrier we basically gonna have to break would basically be the one we had a target on, which was 15,700. Okay, 15,700. Boom. 15,700 would basically be our first target, where we gonna which we're gonna have on our actual weekly time frame, mainly because we had a break out of this region. We haven't came back for a proper correction whatsoever, and we are in need of a proper correction. Can you see that we had a break above? We haven't came back for the correction. We just flexed, bulls just flexed towards the upside and just pushed price back towards the upside. Okay, so scaling down to my actual daily time frame, knowing that before I'm gonna go down to my daily time frame, knowing that if we're gonna have a tap into this actual region like we had over here, we can expect price to come back down to this actual dynamic area of support. Just keep that in mind. Okay, keep that in mind. So I'm gonna just scale to our daily time frame, then I'm gonna come back to my weekly time frame. Okay, so scaling down to my daily time frame, you can see more candles is opening up. More candles is opening up over here. Let me just adjust my actual trend line a bit. I just want to adjust this one just a little bit to the upside so that we can have a respect. Yeah, just like that. Okay, so can you see that we also had this region over here. This is also a region that we which we haven't came back for an actual retest just of yet. Boom. So I'm basically looking long term. This could be an area where Nasdaq can find itself head back into. Can you see with these highs over here, we haven't came back for a proper retest just of yet inside this actual trend line. So if we gonna have the respect on the trend line and we have the necessary confluence to take price towards the downside, first target would basically be this region over here, which was that daily area, which was previous resistance, now turned into support. If we're gonna have to break it, we can see price potentially head back into this actual region which we have over here, which is lining up with 15,000. Okay, so long term 15,000 is an actual region where we can see Nasdaq visit. Okay, so we don't have that much to say on our daily time frame, as we can see that our bulls have just been flexing, flexing. Okay, so scaling down to my actual 4 hourly time frame, just looking at what's happening over here. Just looking at what is happening over here, and zoom in just a bit. We can see that we did have a nice impulsive move towards the upside. We have a nice correction, and we have a nice little impulsive move back towards the upside. Plus we are in creation of a potential another correction. Right now, with this actual correction, can you see that if I'm a box out this region like this, right? Yes, two things that can happen. Two things. Number one, can you see that we had a nice pull, a nice move towards the upside. We came back down, hit back up. We head back up. We can come back down again, head back up, and basically break this region, and then we wait for the retest and take price towards the downside. So, that is basically a charting pattern, right? A charting pattern called an HNS, a head and shoulders, indicating to us that we can see price head towards the downside. So this would basically be our left shoulder, this would be our head, and this could potentially be our right shoulder, for a move back towards the downside. If I can just show my chart back again, it looked a little messy, but this would basically be our, if I can do this and just remove this, this would basically be our left shoulder, this would be our head. So we can wait for a potential right shoulder for a move back towards the downside. If we're gonna break this region over here, we're gonna have to wait for a close below and then a retest to take price back towards the downside. Okay, to take price back towards the downside. So I'm gonna give you two bias on this beautiful pair, a move towards the downside as well as a move towards the upside. Okay, let me just remove these things, and let me just remove that. Cool. So let me just get out my actual area of support once again, just like that. So if we're gonna have a move towards the downside, you know, we will basically wait for a proper break out of this region. You know, then we will be basically creating a lower low. Can you see that this is a low? Then we'll be basically creating a lower low, indicating to us that, you know, we will now turn this bull market into a bear market, so we can see price hit towards the downside. Okay, so after we have the break, wait for a proper close, then we wait for the retest, then we take price towards the downside. Where could our targets be on our 4 hourly time frame? Can you see this region which we have over here? This region over here, this one over here, 16,000. This region over here called 16,000. This could be a potential area where we can find price hit back towards the downside. Can you see that, you know, we had this nice consolidation happening over here. If I can box this out like this, you know, if I can box it out like this, we had a break out of this region, and you know, we haven't came back for a retest just of yet. So, you know, if that necessary move presents itself, you know, we can look at a potential you know, a potential 300 pip move towards the downside, and that is quite decent. That is decent. Okay, and if we just gonna come towards the downside and respect this region and just head towards the upside, where can we potentially take price if we gonna have to go towards the upside? So I'm gonna get out my Fibonacci, you know, from this low to my high like this, from my low to my high, you know, and basically look at my extension targets, right? And I will be basically looking at my minus 61.8 region, you know, and to round it off to a nice psychological round number, I'll be basically looking at, you know, I'll be looking at 16,560. 60, just like that. So if we're gonna have a move back towards the upside, you know, a target would basically be 16,560. Okay, and this would be a decent move as well. This would be a decent move towards the upside as well. 233 pip move towards the upside, quite decent on Nasdaq. Okay, so that is it for our actual 4 hourly time frame. So if we can scale, you know, towards the downside to our lower time frames, you know, we can basically, you know, look into it in depth just a little bit, you know. So from my actual 1 hourly time frame, knowing that, you know, our 1 hourly time frame would basically fuel our 4 hourly time frame. Okay, our 1 hourly time frame will fuel our 4 hourly time frame. You know, I'm basically saying that, you know, what is happening if our 1 hourly is going to change its structure from bull to bear, you know, our 4 hourly time frame is going to come towards the downside. Okay, so if our 1 hourly time frame is going to change from bull to bear, our 4 hourly time frame is going to come towards the downside. So, you know, looking at our actual 1 hourly time frame, you know, we can see that, you know, we are still somewhat bullish. Okay, we're still somewhat bullish. Why am I saying that we are still somewhat bullish? It's mainly because, can you see that, you know, even if I might have to like box out it from this region and just box out this region out like this, like that, and let me just remove this. Can you see that, you know, looking at our lows, we do have this actual low, then we have equal lows over here. We have equal lows. Looking at our highs, we have a high, higher high, higher high, right? So we are still bullish on our 1 hourly time frame. Okay, we're still bullish on our 1 hourly time frame. So keep in mind from our actual 1 hourly time frame, we can easily just have a respect, price run towards the downside, and then we just head towards the upside back into 16,560. But if we're gonna have a close below, wait for proper close, wait for retest, and we can take price to 16,000. But if you want a safe haven, can you see that we also have a region over here? We also have a region over here which we broke out of. We haven't came back for a retest, so this could be a potential target as well, you know. And I will be basically looking at price 16, I'll make it 1620, 1620. So if we're gonna have a breakout of this region, expect a pullback, and we can take price back into you know, 16 to 20. Now this might not be like eye candy for some people, but you know, this is an actual 80 pip move towards the downside. 80 pip move, that is also decent on Nasdaq. Okay, so if price is gonna come towards the downside, have a proper break, you know, wait for the retest. If price gonna smack your actual target, you know, and we remain bearish, you can have a continuation move back towards the downside. You know, you can scale in from our lower time frames, you know, to 16,000. Okay, but my bias, you know, what I actually want is, you know, hey, we know that the market is not our, you know, it's not a family member, nothing like that. You know, we can't say we want this, we want that. You know, we just being, you know, what we're doing now is basically we are building some sort of an actual forecast for ourselves. You know, we're doing forward testing, you know, we're prepping ourselves, but at the end of the day, you know, we're gonna have to be reactive on what we see is happening on the actual charts and not what we think was gonna happen. Okay, so if we can have the necessary, you know, I want to move towards the upside, right? Tap into this region, move towards the upside, you know, but I'll basically take it to this region over here, which will be my actual area of resistance, right? So if I'm gonna scale down to my actual 15 minute, if I can scale down to my 15 minute, let's just zoom in just a little bit. You know, if I'm gonna scale down to my actual 15 minute and zoom in just a little bit, can you see that, you know, with this move which we had over here, can you see with this move which we had over here, we were a little choppy. Can you see that? We were choppy. We had a break out of this region. We haven't came back for proper retest just off yet. And as you guys know, that Nasdaq loves to come capture regions which it haven't captured just off yet. So, you know, I'll be basically waiting for, you know, if we can have a nice move towards the downside, I'll be taking price back towards the upside, back into this region over here. Now, if we're going to hit into this region and have a close above, you know, this would basically be a higher time frame closure as well. You know, so what do we wait for? Just as mentioned as previously on our 1 hourly time frame, if you're gonna have a break below, we wait for the retest and we take price back towards the downside. Okay, so if we're gonna have a break above, we wait for the retest and then we take price back towards the upside, back into 16,560. Okay, 16,560. And you know, in overall, what would be nice if we can tap into that weekly trend line and show the necessary confluence, then all our actual targets. Can you guys remember that on, you know, in October month we haven't came back to retest a whole bunch of targets. Literally, we haven't came to respect a whole lot of you know, places we actually wanted price to respect. So if we can have a move, this is back to the weekly time frame, if we can have a move into this actual trend line showing us the necessary confluence that we can take price towards the downside on our lower time frame, you know, Nasdaq can easily just come towards the downside and capture all those regions which, you know, Nasdaq have not captured just of yet, and easily have another continuation, you know, back towards the upside. Easily, literally. Can we say that, can we say that, hey, Nasdaq should break this actual trend line and then retest and take price back towards the downside? No, we can't say that just of yet. Why? Because our structure on our weekly time frame is still bullish. It's still bullish. Okay, remember I said that I love taking sell opportunities. I love taking sell opportunities. So if our structure can change on our weekly time frame from this bull market into a bear market, then I can potentially say that, that hey, we can have an actual chance of breaking this trend line. And when we break this trend line, wait for the retest, and we go and take price back towards the downside. And where will I basically, where do I want price to basically hit into? It would basically be at this region over here. At this region over here. Boom. So we can look at 11,000. So we can basically look at 11,000. So we can basically look at 11,000. Boom. Okay. So if we're gonna have a break out of this actual trend line, this weekly channel which we are moving in, if we can have a nice break out of it, I'll basically wait for a retest and take price back into 11,000. That will be a swing, a whole swing. But this could actually happen. It won't happen today, tomorrow, like next week whatsoever. This would be a long-term move. Okay, long-term. So we won't be focusing on on that. We won't be focusing on a break out of this trend line, a retest, come back towards the downside. No, we won't be focusing on that. When we get there, we get there. At this moment, we bullish, so we only gonna look for downside potential and then upside potential, towards the upside. Hey, so I hope that you guys have like a clean understanding of what I just went through. On Nasdaq, we do have our targets where we want price to hit into, whether we're going to come towards the downside. You do have your targets towards the downside. When we go towards the upside, you do have your targets towards the upside. Okay. And, if you are a trader watching me, and, you are basically executing trades on how I'm executing trades, or just in general how you find yourself executing trades, but you're following my analysis whatsoever, hey, feel free to drop me a DM, that will put a nice smile on my face, like a smile from here to there. Okay, so yeah, feel free to send me your results over Insta. I'll put my actual Insta account in the actual description box, and if you like this content, hey, hit that like button, hit that sub button. I highly appreciate that. I will highly appreciate that. Honestly, guys, I'll highly appreciate that. And hey, be safe, look after yourself. When it comes down to your trading, trade safe. Use money management, and I'll see you next week. I'm out.